Ireland, baby, we did it, yeah! Welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk, episode 29, brought to you, as always, in association with MMAmix.com. If you want the best of UFC, Bellator, all your MMA news, go to MMAmix.com. They're obviously good, because they're with Obviously Fight Talk. Also, a big shout out to our normal home at the Whiskey Fair in Dunleary. We're not recording here this weekend because it's a bank holiday here in Ireland. So again, we're coming at you live on Google Hangout. It's not as good as the studio, but hey, you got to roll with the punches. So tonight I'm joined by Mr. Hashtag Win Decision, as always, Mr. Robert. I still haven't missed the show. Palin.
Thanks for having me, man. And you gave away the wrong reason why we're not in Whiskey Fair. The reason is our predictions were so bad that they wouldn't allow us in the building.
Yeah,
terrible.
We're in hiding. Mick Mooney had money on our predictions, so we owe him a fortune. And as well, delighted to have him back, the silk velvet voice of the gentleman himself, Mr. Daniel Movahedi.
How we doing, gents? Good to be back.
The only man who came out of last week with a bit of a smile.
Yeah. There you go. That's the one.
He sent me a picture where I put up, so the UFC didn't go as clear as I wanted it, and Dan just sent me a picture of him smiling. So it was a yeah, fuck you Movahedi moment. We're not joined by Carl Crazy Doran this week. Carl has a busy life outside of podcasting and being a ranter and a stern believer in profanity. So unfortunately Carl's not with us, but he'll probably be with us. He will be with us next week, I'd imagine. So yeah. keep well, Crazy Carl Doran, and don't worry, I'm sure we'll get the odd curse in there for you. So Rob, unprepared as we were last week, I hope you have the iPad at the ready here, do you?
Yeah.
He does. Excellent stuff. So, the rundown for this week, we're going to give you your Obviously Fight Talk Quickfire news, as we always do. Then we're going to have a UFC 201 recap. We're then going to go into a little bit of the UFC titles, because the UFC titles have changed hands 7 times this year in the calendar year of 2016. And then we'll also be bringing you a UFC Fight Night preview for UFC 92. So if you want to lose your money, really listen and pay attention, because we're gone that bad at our picks, you're guaranteed to lose money. So gentlemen, let's start as we always do with our quickfire news. So Dan, you might be familiar with these ads, but these are a couple of Irish guys we're going to speak about here. So we had Dylan Tuke won at Shinobi 18 over the weekend, after a very difficult first round against Adam Ventre, which the Dubliner rocked a number of times. Tuke showed great heart and skill and finished the fight in round 2 with a beautiful rear naked choke. Teammates Richie Smullen escaped a guillotine from hell from Jay Mugen. Moments later in round 2 with a heel hook, he got his first W on his MMA pro debut. John Bourne, also of SBG, claimed the Shinobi amateur title with a rear naked choke win in round 2 over Jake Flynn, making it a very successful night in Liverpool for SBG. Ben Forsyth was due to fight on the same card as the lads above, but his opponent pulled out the day of the fight. So the next time you're going to see Ben Forsyth is in a Pac 3 arena. Movahedi could have his rubber gloves on and be going, get it on. Ben's next fight is due in Bama 26. So, gentlemen, I don't know if you've seen any of the fights. Shinobi are starting to release the fights, but a good weekend in Liverpool for SBG.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the full fight. I did see the finish on Tuke's fight. It was a good finish. I know that it was a tough first round for him. I heard a couple of things, and I did read basically the play-by-play. And I know it was a tough first round, but I think young fighters need that as well. They need to get in those type of fights where they have their back against the wall. It can't be always smooth sailing for them. Especially as a young fighter, you really want to get in there, get a couple of rounds under the belt, because Tuke has been getting some really quick finishes lately. So that's good for him. It's unfortunate as well that Ben didn't get the fight. He obviously got a huge boost from that win in the IMAFs, wasn't it? The IMAF tournament that he won.
Yeah, he's won and all. He actually fought, I think it was in Shinobi. It was either in Shinobi or ICE as well over in the UK recently.
Yeah.
Ben needs to get himself involved with like Durex or something, because he is the best contraception, because he's had more fucking pullouts than a fucking porn movie, I swear to God.
What was the
I'm
reason?
not too sure. I'm not too sure what it was for, but it was the day of the fight.
So they've done the weigh-ins, done the head-to-heads, and then...
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Oh, fair enough. But you know what? It's a good platform for these guys to get their wins as well. I mean, Shinobi, if I'm correct, they've only been around a couple of events, and I think this was the first time they have had pro fights, MMA fights on there. It's usually amateur card.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from the sounds of it, from what I was, some of the bits I've read on the social media, they stepped up the game, and it was good to have good fighters on there, especially for their pro debut show kind of thing. Whereas
Yeah,
usually they have
no,
amateur fights on there.
I have to say I watched their Severe MMA had shared it, and I watched it on Severe. But then, just as I came after that, I seen Shinobi actually posted the recorded, from above the cage and stuff. And I
Okay.
watched it. It looked fantastic. The Took fight is the only one I've watched in full. I've seen the finish as well for Richie Smullen, and John Bourne. I just seen the picture. I'm looking forward to seeing them. But yeah, a great weekend, a great platform. 2 minutes is up, so forget what you're saying and move on. So then, in other news, George St. Pierre has voiced his interest in a fight with the new welterweight champion Tyrone Woodley. Woodley himself has said he'd like to fight either Nick Diaz or GSP. So watch this space, I suppose. But what do you think there? We keep hearing the rumour of GSP constantly, man. And it seems like every time something happens, Bisping wins a belt, GSP says, "Oh, I'll fight him." Now Woodley's won a belt, and he's saying, "I'll fight him." So what do we think of that?
It's going to be Diaz. I reckon you've got more chance of Diaz fighting him than you have GSP, personally. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather see that fight anyway, just to create more hype. Or who knows, might be GSP and Diaz first, and then the winner gets, Woodley. I don't know. It's a weird one. And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Or it might be Lawler and Woodley again. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it should be Wonderboy. I think he's the one that deserves a title shot.
Yeah.
But if they want to do these type of matchups, they really have to just jump on them because, how many times, as you said, have they said, "Oh, we want to do this matchup, but we need this guy to win once, we need this guy to win once." It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like this in this sport. Like, if you want to make the matchup, make it. So if they want to make one of those fights, just make it. It doesn't matter if they deserve it or not. Just make the fight, because if you're going to wait down the line for it to happen, odds are it won't happen if you don't just make the fight.
I think my 2 cents, and I think a bigger super fight is Nick Diaz against Robbie Lawler. I want to see that fight again. That'd be an amazing fight. Like Woodley,
I think that's what they were hoping, though. If Robbie had won, I think that's what they were hoping that the way it would have gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's all speculation. It's all rumor. There's going to be all that talk as well. Do you know what I mean? It always happens, and it's happening every week now. Someone wins and GSP is fighting them. Do you know what I mean? I'm surprised he wasn't down to fight Brock Lesnar after he beat Hunt. But yeah, again, it's a watch this space, and we're going to talk about it later in the show. But they're passing titles around. Oh, I'm throwing these away. They're passing titles around. As if they're candy floss at this stage. Yeah. So it's quite interesting.
I think Wonderboy should get it, but at this point, if GSP gets it, can you really disagree with that? If Nick Diaz gets it, he lost his last fight, you don't know, but that's 2 minutes.
So on to the next one. So the rumor mill is turning, and Jason. Yeah, I've gone out of hiding here, but sure, it might be a good thing. We might get more viewers if I go out of hiding.
Yeah.
What do you mean? How dare you?
You said it first, you fuck.
Yeah.
There we go.
Don't be here. There we go. Carl Doran is in the house. Yeah.
Is he?
Hold on. Yeah. Well, it sounds like it with you cursing like that. You bleeding hooligan. Right, I'm trying to sort out. Ignore Noel and his technical issues. Right, you're already in the call. It's telling me. Right, Grant. There I am. Then it kicks me out.
You're all right. Go on.
All right. So anyway, the rumor mill is turning. Jason Floyd of MMA Report tweeted that he'd heard a rumor last week that the UFC was to schedule Eddie Alvarez first title fights against Khabib Makhachev. I'm not even attempting it again. Only when I hear Joe Rogan say it, I can say it. Nurmagomedov, in Philadelphia. No date was mentioned. This comes off the back of Khabib posting on social media to expect good news soon in regards to his next fight. So for me, out of all the talk of who should get a fight and he should get a fight, this is the one that for me makes the most sense, because Khabib is the absolute boss of that division, and it's just injuries that are holding him back.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a horrible matchup for Eddie Alvarez. I think that that he wants different fights. He said he wants different fights, and I don't blame him, because Khabib is just a very tough ass for anybody in that division. So if that fight does happen, I definitely have Khabib. I definitely favour him. The only problem is, he's been out for quite a while. He's only had one fight in the last probably 2 years or something, so you never know. But it makes a whole lot of sense. I don't see anyone else in that division really. Maybe Tony Ferguson, but it really depends. But I think it's a horrible matchup for Alvarez.
It'll be an interesting fight, though. Like you said, he's been out for 2 years. It'll be, it'll be see how he comes, especially straight into a title shot. But yeah,
Well, now he had a fight there. Well, the last month was it? He fought, and he fought a guy who was just coming in to make his MMA debut, and
Yeah,
he
Dan, you picked him, Dan. You picked against him last.
yeah, you picked against Khabib
Oh,
last
did I?
time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Helen wasn't giving you advice about who to pick on.
Quite possibly.
We're gonna get these insults in before we get to the card because fuck me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hopefully he loses connection when we get to that stage. But yeah, I think Khabib Alvarez is a great fight. You're saying Robbie has no chance. It's a bad fight for him. We said that against Junior or against RDA as well, and look what happened. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I don't say no chance, but I think it is a bad matchup.
yeah. Well, as weekends past have just showed, anything can happen, in this beautiful sport. Well, I think we can move on to the next one. Unless you have that to add in the last 10 seconds. So here you are, Dan. Get your big smile on your face. Jake Ellenberger was cut from the UFC before his bout with the immortal Matt Brown, but he flew to Vegas basically to ask for one more shot, have one more chance, and he promised he'd deliver. So Dana White has even said that this has actually happened as well. So that's pretty, to get cut and to go down and jump in the plane and say, give me one more shot to do what he done is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he must have, don't know, begged. I mean, I've never heard of that before. Get cut and then go, begging him to have one more fight, especially against Matt Brown, who we know is a brawler and anything can happen. But man, I mean, the way he come out of that fight and through that first shot, put him down.
3 seconds was gone on the clock with that big first shot.
It was crazy. And then you're watching and you're going, please don't cash out. Please don't cash out.
Yeah. It looked like he did,
yeah. But I don't think Matt Brown fully recovered from that first shot, and maybe it could have gone a different way. If it then didn't start the way it started. But fair play to him. He's kept his career alive. And, you go for it, and fair play to Dana White for giving him that shot. And maybe Dana White thought, hey, why not? It's a fight. I don't know, anything can happen, and if he loses, he's cut. If he wins, it's a bonus to Dana White to keep a good fighter on board.
Yeah, the way it seems like it to me is like Ellenberger went and he said, okay, give me one more shot, and they were like, okay, we'll give you one more shot, we'll give you fucking somebody tough. Matt Brown, we'll put you in there with Matt Brown. If you can beat him, then you can stick around, but it's going to be a tough one. Fair play to Jake Ellenberger. I didn't really see any way that he could win apart from landing that big shot, but I didn't expect him to be able to do it. I think he moved camps as well. So I
was about to say, do you know who he's not training with anymore?
Yeah, Edmund Tarvarian, isn't it? But yeah, Jake Ellenberger looked great. We'll talk a little bit about it later. But it's crazy, one more shot, proper Rocky story, great comeback story for Jake Ellenberger.
Exactly. Good stuff. Moving on to a little closer to your heart, Dan. Bama 26 has announced 2 more bouts to be added to the Irish card in Dublin in the Tree Arena on the 10th of September, and it's Irish interest as well. We've got SBG's Kiefer Crosby has been matched against Joe McColgan, and we've got Gary, former guest, the Dumb Truck Morris, against Darren the Crazy Kid O'Gorman. So 2 more bouts added to the Bama 26 card. It's already a stacked card. Plenty of Irish talent, but plenty of the top rostered guys on Bama's roster as well there. So again, this is just giving you more the itch to get excited for Bama 26. If you haven't got your tickets, get them. Get onto Fighters, I think they're on Ticketmaster. Get onto them and get your tickets, because not only will you see great fighters, you'll get to see Daniel Movahedi, the man, the myth, the legend, with his black rubber gloves on, refereeing fights. So the 2 good fights there, matched as well.
That's all right, and you'll be calling the fights.
Yeah, I'd say these fights, there's a good chance I could be doing these ones. Yeah. But 2 good matchups as well. A good matchup for Gary, Darren O'Gorman. Dan, you probably mightn't be too familiar with these lads, but Darren O'Gorman is a very experienced fighter. Amateur-wise, he was one of the top guys in the country. He's had a couple of Muay Thai fights or K1 fights in between as well, but this is a good matchup for both lads on the biggest stage in Ireland. Kiefer Crosby as well, who's only recently turned pro, taking on Joe McColgan. That's a very, very tough fight and a great fight. So the fans are getting spoiled here yet again by Bama.
Yeah, there's a good bit of hype around Kiefer making his pro debut not too long ago. So a good
Mm.
shot for him. And then Gary, he just fought last 2 nights ago or last night in a K1 bout.
Last
He won
night,
by
yeah,
decision last
yeah.
night, yeah. So he
Yeah.
gets back at the MMA. So he got a good win over who did he fight last? Gary.
Keith, MMA,
Yeah.
Decky Dalton in the
Decky
MMA.
Dalton, yeah, so that was a big win for him because he wasn't really expected to win it. So good to
Mm.
see him back there. It's I love what Bama's doing. A lot of Irish guys on the card and some really good young Irish, young Irish fighters. Like the country's filled with good fighters over here. Like you look at the amateur IMAFs that just went on over in Vegas and the amount of medals that Irish fighters got. And
Mm.
I think they were the top. They got the top amount of medals through every country. So it just tells you the young talent that are over here. And that's
Yeah,
2 minutes.
yeah. Okay, go.
Well, let the referee say something. God,
No,
we
no.
cannot not let the referee.
I was gonna say every time Bama comes to Ireland, that the especially the undercard, stacked with Irish fighters, gives the youngsters a chance to perform on a big platform as well. So
Yeah.
it's a good exposure for them.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said, if you haven't been to the last two Bahamas that have been here, get yourself a ticket and get to it, because it's as much as myself and yourself, Dan, are involved from a fan's perspective. It's a great night. Rob, you've been there as a fan as well, but it's an absolute. It's a fantastic night. Great fights. You get your value for your money because they don't just throw fights on just to have fights on the card. They're well matched fights right from the beginning to the end. And of course, the Housewife's Choice is your main event, fighting for the title as well against Paul Craig. So it certainly is a stacked card and something I'm looking forward to. Right, so moving on, we're going to recap UFC 201. So Dan, get your smiley face going. This was a night of what was against the grain, I think it's fair to say. Like, a lot of people thought a lot of these fights would have went the opposite way. Myself, Carl and Rob all went the same route on the main event. There was only 4 fights on the main event because of Scoggins pulling out. Or sorry, Scoggins not making weight and Ian McCall fight getting scrapped due to that. So the Eric Perez against Rivera was the first fight of the evening, and on your main card, I should say. What did we think of that? And it was a bit of, I was expecting a barn burner of a throwdown, and it was almost like they just waited till the end of the start of the third round before they done that, and that's looked like when Rivera had the chance to win the fight. But I thought Eric Perez fought extremely smart in this fight, kept the distance and landed some big shots in there, and I thought it was an excellent performance by Perez. He let the madness come out at the start of that third round. They exchanged like complete lunatics, and then he got the takedown and he dominated from there. But a fantastic performance by Eric Perez, and I think he needs to adopt that style to be the more I don't want to say thoughtful fighter, but the more intelligent, you know what I mean, to go with the tactics and not always get involved in a brawl, because that's where he looked at risk of losing that fight. As soon as he entered the brawl, that's where he looked at risk. He didn't. It was a great performance by Eric Perez, and he's only a young man as well with a great future ahead of him.
Yeah, do you think that was the pressure though that he felt round 1 and 2, and coming to round 3, he needed to make a point? That's why,
Yeah, maybe.
That's why the way he went. Before we carry on, I'll be honest with you. The only fights I've seen is the co-main event and the main event. I've read the play-by-play, but I haven't actually sat down and physically watched them. So
busy man.
Well, you've been a very busy man this weekend. We'll let that pass.
Yeah,
he's been away more this weekend than Thomas Cook has had flights, so we'll let you away with that.
Yeah, I liked the adjustments that Eric Perez made in the second. I thought Rivera looked good in the first. I was actually fairly confident that he was going to get it done.
I'd nearly say the first half of the first round, I'd say, Rob, Perez looked a bit stiff or a bit,
Yeah, and it was going the way that it was going the way we thought it was going to go. I thought Rivera showed some good strike, and he showed that he could land on Perez. But then Perez made some great adjustments through the end of that first round, and then on to the second and third. And in the second and third, he just ran away with it. Rivera couldn't really do too much. It was, as you said, it was a very, very good performance by Perez. He surprised me in ways because usually he's very wild and he kind of sticks to that. But he didn't. He stayed kind of patient and composed, and he looked really good. I was very impressed. Good win for him.
Yeah, no, it was a great win. Moving on to the next fight of the evening, then you have to forgive me. I don't have the fight here in front of me. So what was it? What was the next one in the line on the card?
Jake Ellenberger against Matt Brown.
Oh, there we are. Go on.
So Jake Ellenberger knocks out TKO's Matt Brown in the first round. and this is one that Dan picked. This is actually two. So Dan picked Perez, and he picked Ellenberger to win. Yeah, so those are the two that won. Ellenberger came out in the first 3 seconds of the fight and landed that big right. And then Matt Brown kind of came back into it. It looked like Ellenberger kind of gassed himself out a little bit. And then he threw a lovely body kick that actually dropped Matt Brown. That body kick, holy fuck, yeah. So that was beautiful. But, you know, Jake Ellenberger, I didn't give him much of a chance. I thought this was one of the easier fights to pick on the card. But, yeah, that's what you think.
Before you guys picked him, did you guys know that whole one fight situation had happened already?
No.
No one knew about that.
No, that only came out after, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that body kick. I think everyone who was watching, you know, could hear that even in the arena. That was perfectly timed, and I think you'll see that was the icing on the cake, so to speak. You know,
and that's the thing about it as well. Like Ellenberger never used to go to the body. You never really seen him go to the body, and you see a lot of Matt Brown's fights when he gets hurt, it's to the body. So that's really good game planning by Jake Ellenberger. He obviously seen that in his that bit of chink in his armor. And dug that body kick, and it was beautiful. You could see the wind.
Yeah, it was. And again, like, I don't think we sort of touched on it there, and we hate to sound like we're a bunch of bullies, but you know, I hope Ronda Rousey and other fighters look at the success there that Ellenberger had away from somebody, because he just to me like he looked like. He looked like a determined man when the fight started. Like, to come out and attack Matt Brown the way he did.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, like there was no, and he went full leather for it. And you're right, Rob. He did look like he gassed out. But then, like, it looked like Matt Brown had his hands down and he looked relaxed, and it looked like Matt Brown was going to come into the fight. And I started to have to readjust myself sitting at home watching it, going, right, now come on, let's go, let's take it up a notch now. But then that body kick was just absolutely phenomenal. Just ended.
But he did though. He gave that, you know, that little bit of hope. He is coming back. You know, caught Edinburgh with a couple of shots. You know, and obviously then that body kick came in. But it did look like Matt Brown was you know, could have turned it around slightly. And
he looked like he was getting comfortable as well, Matt Brown.
Yeah, sometimes Matt Brown does that. Sometimes he doesn't really get into the fight when he gets hit hard, and that's what it looks like was happening. But yeah, that body kick, can't say anything more than that.
Where do you guys think this leaves Matt Brown in his career?
It's a tough one to call, you know. It's all of a sudden. That's what's crazy about this sport is people were going on for Matt Brown for the title shot. Then it was down in Brazil, his last defeat, wasn't it? And then he comes off this to Ellenberger, which everybody in a way strangely thought this was a gimme to Matt Brown. Do you know what I mean? So all of a sudden now Matt Brown looks like he's gone from almost like a fight to get him back in the mix to, Jesus, one more fight and he'd technically be getting his walking papers. I don't think that's going to happen with Matt Brown because he's just a stalemate in the UFC. Like he's just he's an installment, I should say, in the UFC. But it puts him in a predicament, all right. His next fight, all of a sudden, not that every fight isn't important, but you know what I mean. It has a little bit more to stake on it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you know, Matt Brown is the old TikTok is clicking in the old years department as well.
Yeah, I wonder also, before we move on, this one could be still on Jake. I wonder how many other fighters, when they do, and if they do get cut from the UFC, will I be asking Dana White, hey, give me that one more chance, give me that one more shot? You know, you done it for him, why can't you do it for me? You know. Well,
in fairness to Jake Ellenberger, though, Jake Ellenberger at one stage looked like he was at the heights of getting a title shot.
Yeah,
he really did, and then he just had back-to-back losses, and you know, it looked like things just weren't going right for him. He was getting caught, and that can happen to any fighter. The same way, like Matt Brown could put it down to he got caught and he never recovered from it. You know what I mean? So Matt Brown could come in his next fight and look absolutely fantastic. He just got caught. It can happen to any fighter, I suppose, on any given night. When you're playing high risks like these lads are in the UFC, like they're not in there against nobodies. You know what I mean? A UFC fighter, you're top of the game to be in that roster. You know, so to get wiped out in a shot like that can happen to anyone. You know.
Yeah, big time. Especially, you know, the heavier weight classes. Obviously, welterweight isn't the heaviest weight class in the UFC, but they're still big boys. They're cutting down from, you know, 190, 185. Yeah, so if you get hit, with a solid punch with those small gloves, anything can happen. Anyone can win in the sport. It's absolute craziness.
Yeah.
And moving on then to the co-main event, then we had Caroline Kalawagiguvejevin. I need Joe Rogan to say it again. Joe Rogan actually made a mess of it a few times, and so did Buffer one of the times.
Buffer,
but it is a tough one in
Buffer.
fairness. Kowalkiewicz, we're going to call her, against Rose Namajunas. The thing that annoyed me about this fight was my gut instinct before this said Carolina, because she's that Polish, she's a Muay Thai background. She was and that was amateur level, but she was the Polish Muay Thai champion at amateur, and like she was undefeated. But it was almost like familiarity made me pick Rose, and I just think, for me, I was surprised it even got a split decision, because I thought it was hands down. Carolina won the fight. It was the clinch done the damage. Them knees in the clinch absolutely wiped the floor with Rose, took all her gas, took all her energy, and it was a phenomenal performance by Carolina. And all of a sudden, it looks like 115. It's going to be an all Polish affair.
Yeah, it was a tale of two different styles. It was Rose on the outside, and she done really, really good. She was countering really, really well. She was landing great shots, but once it got on the inside, those knees to the body just paid dividends all through the rest of the fight. And Carolina didn't slow down at all. She didn't slow down, not a little bit. So that's what I think I find interesting about the Joanna fight, is because you know that Carolina's going to be there for the full 5 rounds. And when Joanna has fought everybody else, they've slowed down, and she kept pushing on to the final rounds if it went that far. So I find that really, really interesting, that upcoming fight. But yeah, I do agree with you now. I think that we are looking at Carolina, and we were saying where she was good, but we kind of went back with Rose because of the more familiarity. But it wasn't a bad performance by Rose. I thought Rose looked really, really good.
No.
But Carolina just looked a little bit better, especially close range.
One thing I have to say about her, I genuinely think, because like Rose Namajunas is only young. Like, I think she's only 23. Is she? Is she even 23?
Yeah, she's like 6-2 or something, and she's like 20, 22, 23.
But my point is that this, in the long run, could be a blessing in disguise for Rose, because of the whole thing was the winner gets Joanna again.
Yeah.
I think that would have been too much for Rose to get Joanna.
I agree.
Genuinely. So I think this could be a good thing for her career, as much as obviously a loss isn't seen as a good thing. It could be a thing where it might take her 2 or 3 fights to get back up to that level, but because she's so young and she's developing as a fighter, in 3 fights down the line, Rose Namajunas will have made so many improvements that then maybe the title fight is the fight to happen. So for this, as much as it's a loss, like she didn't lose disgracefully or any sense. Like, it was a close enough fight. I do think Carolina won. I thought Carolina won all the three rounds, I have to be honest. But it wasn't like an absolute landslide. So I think like Rose can go off, improve, have the couple of fights, and build the momentum back up again. And I could see her getting a title shot in maybe a year and a half's time. You know what I mean? If she gets a few fights under the belt. So I think longevity-wise, it could be good for her career.
You say improve. I mean, just being picky. What do you think she needs to improve on? I haven't seen the fight, but what aspects do you think she needs to go and improve on? You said about the clinch. She got done with the knees and the clinch work. What is it that you think she could go away and
For me, I think that like in the clinch she wasn't bad. Just Carolina was clearly a lot better there, and she spent way too much time in it. She was just letting herself stay in it. She had chances to break, but she didn't. And she was getting chewed up with the knees and the elbows. I think if she could work on staying out of that clinch range, especially on someone like her, and what she did for the first, I'd say half of the first round, and I thought the first round was fairly close, but I think it was just kind of staying out of that clinch range. I think she could get better at pushing away from that, because at range she was chewing up Carolina. She was absolutely chewing her up.
But you see, I know exactly what you're saying, Robin. You're right. She did. She needed to win that fight. She needed to avoid that clinch distance, and she really did. But from my perspective, if I was playing the Ultimate Fighter game, for example, I'd go off and I'd train in the clinch then. Do you know what I mean? To improve where, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if that's your weak point, sharpen your sword and become stronger there. So I thought she could change her levels a few more and threaten the takedowns, because Rose has got a few submissions on her checklist as well. So I thought she could have threatened with a few more takedowns and made the fight interesting. So when Carolina was throwing them knees, there was the possibility of catching a knee and getting a takedown. Do you know what I mean? So like, again, you see it with young fighters. fighters, like every time a young fighter goes away, like Edson Barboza is someone who stands out for me. Like I remember when he first came in, or Max Holloway's another. Every time you see them in the octagon, they've improved. They've made a huge step forward to when the last time you seen them. Even though it was 2, 3, 4 months down the line, there's always a huge improvement in young fighters because they're evolving. They're only learning the game, like in that sense. So I think this could be a complete blessing in disguise for Rose.
Yeah. Before we move on,
and get Pat Berry back in our corner. Why wasn't Pat Berry there?
Yeah. Before we move on, I'll just say that like you have to give it up to these girls in this division. It's such a new division, and that division is such a good, entertaining, with high quality fights in it each time. Like the heavier weight class run this division, or Nunes's division, as you'd say now, the bantamweight division. I don't think it's as deep as you would think, even though it's been there for a lot longer. I think that the strawweight division is a lot stronger. There's some really good girls in that division. It's very exciting. It's one of my favorite divisions to watch at the moment. There's some good fighters there.
It is though. Like the only thing I'd say about the strawweight is, and I think it was either Joe Rogan or Mike Goldberg said this during the commentary as well. It's good for the division that Joanna is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Because it makes the contenders have to raise their game even more. So that's what I think is really, really strong about the strawweight in comparison to Ronda's. Like you look at, they're passing the belt around now. It's Ronda's had it, Holly Holmes had it, Miesha Tate's had it, now Amanda Nunes had it. So with a dominant champion, all the contenders have to take it to the next level. So I think that's what's doing the strawweight. But I agree with you, Rob. Fantastic. I love watching the strawweight fights. The women just bring it every time.
But none of the women in that division, in Nunes' division, the champion has never been full 5 rounds and kept the belt, have they?
Yeah.
Or, am I right?
No, because Ronda. No, they've never kept the belt because Ronda finished it in the first round or second round. Then she lost in the second round. Miesha Tate beat Holly Holm after in the 5th round. So it's never gone. It's never gone.
That's what I mean.
Distance,
so you were saying about Joanna, how tough she is. You know, she's been through them wars and you know, proven where she is, and after 5 rounds winning as well, rather than after 5 rounds losing. So it's a good division.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the main event then, the one that everybody predicted wrong in this one as well. Now, I have to say, I did say I'm going to try and take any silver lining from that atrocious week's picks I had. I did say Tyrone Woodley, if he's going to have to win this fight, he's going to have to use his explosive speed and power early in the fight and catch Robbie Lawler. I didn't pick him, but I said exactly what happened. Fuck it, it's the only shimmering light I have. That.
Listen, maybe this is a sign. For the past couple of times you pick someone and you've gone, but you know what? If so and so's going to win, this is what they got. You just got to go with it. Then.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you another thing. What did I say? I was gonna put money on Tyrone Woodley.
And you didn't.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, how the fight started, wasn't it weird? You know, it was near enough like the first shot that was landed, apart from the front kick, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was crazy that one shot. You know, again, a bit like the Ellenberger fight. It just boom, tagged him. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the hell? And you know, when it first started, I thought, is this going to be one of these, you know, boring fights where it's going to be tit for tat and it's going to be, I'll throw one shot, you throw one shot, you know. But no, it was, I'm actually still surprised.
I thought it was going to be a feel-out process for the first half of the first round, and then shit was just going to hit the fan. And just when Woodley landed the shot, I was like, that's it. He's just, you could see, just the lights went, it was done, it was over. Fantastic for Tyrone, don't get me wrong. He just doesn't, for me watching, I went on, every time I said Tyrone Woodley over when we were talking about this fight, I'd yawn as I was saying his name. But fuck me, man, he brought the pain, you know what I mean? And, you know, they always say you have to take the belt off the champion. He fucking ripped his soul out, if you excuse the pun there, Robbie Lawler. But he took the belt and he took his soul. And it was quite weird because you could see Lawler contesting. Going, it was fine at first, but when you look at the replay, when he stood up, was it that Mugliata was reffing it, was it?
Yes.
Mugliata had to catch him, and so it was a great stoppage. There was no doubt. He went out, and then I think one of the shots on the ground sort of brought him back. But I got it. Tyrone Woodley, I take it all back. Fantastic performance, and deserve a champion when you take the belt in such dominant fashion. Deserve a champion.
Yeah, great performance. I think it's a similar situation for me though, with the bantamweight division, with the women's division, that I don't see that belt really staying there for too long. I do see it jumping around a little bit. Maybe Wonderboy, if he gets a shot, he'll win it. But you have to give it to Tyron Woodley. He done what he needed to do. You know, he landed that big shot and he finished him off. Like, we thought maybe if Tyron did land that big shot, maybe Robbie would be able to recover. But it just wasn't the case. Tyron showed his power. He has probably the most power in that division, and he really showed it.
Yeah, but the best thing about it was, if you watch the fight again, is how he changes his level as if he's going to go for that shot, for that takedown, and then just unloads that shot over the top. So, Lawler's hands drop a little bit as if he's going to, do the sprawl or go for double underhooks to pull him back up, but he just throws out over right, and that was it. Good night. And your point about Robbie contesting and saying, "Hey, I'm fine." As referees, sometimes we, as much as we want to hold fighters up and make sure, because we get, you're always under scrutiny about, oh, you stopped it too early, etc. Sometimes just letting the fighters go, just so they can see, hey, look, you're on wobbly street and you can't stand up, or for the fans to see, or for the thing. But literally, Dan had to chase him in and hold him up. He was, he was out clearly. There's no denying that. It's a good.
I just think that's the fighter's instinct, though, Dan, when that happens, to say, I'm fine. So yeah, what's next? I suppose is Wonderboy. We spoke about it briefly. I think Wonderboy's got to get the shot. He's fought his way up there for it. He's got to be, for me, and then let the rest bicker and fight amongst themselves for the #1 contendership, I think. So that brought our picks then. A big change in the picks this week. So Carl still stays at first, even though he went 0-4, but he drops down. I believe he was above 70% or on 70%. That brings him down to, this just suits Carl, to 66.6, the number of the beast.
Oh my God.
He would love that. If you told him that, he would absolutely love that.
Yeah. He'll go and he'll make his picks for next week, and he'll go 2-2 just so he stays exactly the same. And then second place, Mr. Dan Movahedi, with a percentage of 59.72%. Rob in third place with 59.4%, and my glasses have gone, I can't see. I'm last, I'm last with 56.38. So a bit of a change there, and I need to get my act together. Yeah. But talking about titles changing. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Before you go, I know you were talking about Wonderboy. If he was to get a title shot against Woodley, I really hope he brings a bit more explosive game than he did when he fought Rory, because that's where I thought this fight was going to go. That style, I didn't like that fight, Rory McDonald and Wonderboy. It was just too, they weren't really going at it. They were playing it really safe, which I can understand. But I hope if he does get a shot, that we expect a good caliber of throwing down leather, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now, I know that the McDonald Wonderboy fight, a lot of people have their opinions on it. I just think it was two fellas who were so evenly matched. Do you know what I mean? That it was a chess game, in that way. But I agree, it wasn't the most exciting fight. I'm trying to dress it up to sound like, But talking about titles changing hands and stuff, we mentioned it earlier at the start of the rundown. So this year, 2016, has been the year of Past the Brasso Shine Me Belt, because it's changed hands 7 times. So my opinion on this, or I should say my question on this, is this because the champions aren't worthy champions, or is it just the high caliber of the contenders in the divisions? Like, I'm just interested to see your opinions, to see, is it, like Rock Hall, for example, lost. He beat Weidman after Weidman beats the long reigning Anderson Silva. Rock Hall beats Weidman in a fight and then goes out and loses to Bisping on his first title defense. That, as an example, is that because Luke Rockhold isn't a worthy champion, or is it just that Bisping, Bisping took his chance? Then I can move it down the line to Holly Holm beat the long reigning, I suppose, defending Ronda Rousey. She lost it in her first defense against Misha Tate, who then happened to lose hers to Amanda Nunes. Then you had RDA lost his to Alvarez. So it goes down the line. You have Verdum lost his heavyweight title. So is it the contenders, or is it that we used to have dominant champions like Chuck Liddell springs to mind, Anderson Silva springs to mind.
Yeah, but
we used to have real dominant BJ Penn. We used to have real dominant champions.
Yeah, but you're talking about dominant champions, good 5, 6, 7 years ago. Since these guys and girls have become champions, the sport's evolved. I think a bit unfair to say, they're not worthy of being champions. Like, for example, like you said, Holly Holmes beat Ronda Rousey, and beat her very well, and then she gets beat by Misha Tate, and to say, and then obviously she's lost her last fight as well. Just name of the game, I think. I think the caliber of fights and the people coming through the rankings, it happens. Like same with Luke Rockhold, that could be a variation. I think. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Bisping. He done well, but it was to say, Rockhold for me personally, I think we spoke about it anyway. I think he took that fight lightly. I think he was too relaxed. So everything is again like with Robbie, who just got knocked out. It wasn't a shit performance. He just got caught. It's a weird one. It's weird how the titles are changing. And obviously the only person who hasn't changed for a long time is Demetrius Johnson.
And does that give Demetrius Johnson the more fact of, look, motherfuckers, I'm the best pound for pound?
Yeah, I think so. I think some people, I don't think you are, no, but I think some people take for granted how good like the likes of Anderson and Silva was, the likes of GSP was, to be that dominant. We were talking to the lads on the last show, and we were talking about that how difficult it is to be champion for so long. It's a difficult thing to do. It's not easy, and I think people take that for granted sometimes. I think as well, like MMA in particular, it's still changing. You see so many new techniques in MMA. Like with boxing, you don't really see an awful lot of new things. You see, as they said, as the lad said last week, you have the likes of boxers who come in who have a really basic game, but they're just really good at it. With MMA, you have different styles coming in and different styles taking over and new influx of new techniques. It's weird. And then you have as well, and I think, it would be stupid not to say that the USADA probably has an effect on it. I think the changes in weight cutting has an effect on it. I think all this stuff, I think everything has an effect on it. And I think that the likes of Demetrius Johnson, who can stay on the top, I think that's just a testament of how good he is.
Yeah, I agree, but and it's hard to say, if they're not worthy of it. But when you become a champion, like Demetrius Johnson, I'm listening to a couple of his interviews. He's still hungry. When he's the champ, he doesn't. He says when he goes into the fight, he doesn't go into the fight as if he's the champion. It's as if he's fighting for that belt again. He takes himself out of the equation that, hey, I'm the champ. So a lot of pressure goes onto these fighters, whether it be from, the minute they get that belt, everything changes. Everyone recognizes you. You got a lot more media attention. Your money goes up. Your schedule for media changes. So maybe training decreases because you got media obligations, etc. But again, once they've reached that level of winning that title, once they've reached that goal, some of them maybe don't think what's next. Hey, I have to defend this, or what my mentality and how I'm going to think, I should be for this. And I think Demetrius Johnson, like I said, some of his interviews that I've heard, that's what he says. When he goes into his title fights, he's not going in there, hey, you got to beat me, I got to beat you to get that belt again. So he goes in and not as, in his head, I'm not the champion, I'm in there as another fight to get that belt again, Yeah.
I think
what I love about, sorry Rob, go on.
No, I just think as well that between then, as Dan said, that was quite a while ago. I think since then, I think the contenders are a little bit better. I think the top 10 in most divisions now, maybe apart from heavyweight, you would say that it's just a little bit better. They'd have a lot better opponents. Like you look at welterweight, like Carlos Condit could be champion in that division.
Should be champion.
Should be champion. Carlos Condit could be champion. Robbie Lawler could be champion. Wonderboy could be champion. Robbie could go back and he could win that fight. Like if you had Robbie Lawler versus Tyron Woodley again in a rematch tomorrow, I don't think you'd jump on the Tyron Woodley bandwagon and say, oh, he's definitely going to win, because we know that Robbie could win that fight. So it's a crazy sport. It's a very volatile sport.
But that's my take on it. Is I'm playing devil's advocate, asking the question of is it not worthy champions and stuff like that. But I just think like these are, when you're in the UFC, to give it a John Anik comparison, if you're in the UFC, you're basically playing for your Real Madrids or your Man Uniteds. Do you know what I mean? Like Wycombe Wanderers aren't rolling into the UFC. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're in the UFC, you're a high caliber level. Now there is the guys who are become through the stratosphere superstars. Your GSPs, your Anderson Silvas, your Chuck Liddells in the early days, your Randy Couture's, these guys. But then you've got the new breed of fighters who are now trained mixed martial artists that there's not something they're weak in. So I do think it's unfair to say it's changing hands or whatever. I think in some sense the women's division with Holly Holm and Misha Tate, that can be a little. I think that's a little because it's so young in the sport. That might be harsh in saying that, but I just think it's because there's no one person in that division that you could say they beat the brakes off everyone. They're all very evenly matched. Do you know what I mean? And they're not all like, it's not like if you take when Chuck Liddell was dominant, for example, before Chuck Liddell was Tito Ortiz, and he used to wrestle you and ground and pound you. Then Chuck came along and stood up and knocked you out. So it always evolves and becomes something new. We had the Machida era of the Karate Kid, do you know what I mean? And then we might have that again with Wonder Boy Thompson. But I just think it's always moving. There's always a new glitch or click in the game, in the matrix, that everybody has to go, oh shit, this is the new way people are going to win fights. And this is why I love MMA. But I just, because like you're watching, like if you ask me beforehand, if anyone asked me Woodley, Lawler, I'm going, yeah, Lawler's going to make an absolute mess of Woodley. And then look what happens. Do you know what I mean? And this is why I love this sport.
Yeah, I think almost the more you know about the sport as well, the harder it is to pick fights, because you're looking at
big time, yeah.
You're looking at different things. It's like, oh, you can do this, they can do this, they can do this. Where it's like if you're kind of a casual viewer, it's like, oh, well, let's go for him because whatever. But you're right, it's an amazing sport because it's so unpredictable. Anybody can be anybody. Like I'd never be confident in saying this guy is going to beat this guy 100%. Never.
Oh, come here. Who was I talking to the other night? I'm sitting over in I'm sitting over at the calisthenics show I done the other night, right? And I'm sitting talking to Chris Leddy, who's a brown belt out of East Coast Jiu-Jitsu, and we're talking about McGregor Diaz.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what's mad about it is, you ask me now who I think's going to win, and I'm going to go, oh, I just think Diaz is too big and he's too strong. Talk to me in an hour. And I'm going, no, McGregor's hungry. No, McGregor's hungry. He's putting the work in. You see in all his videos and stuff, the macro, if you're watching that, look at the work he's putting in. He's going to light him up. He's going to absolutely destroy him. Then I watch a video with Diaz and I'm, jeez, Diaz is looking big. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a game of equations and it's a game of breakdowns. And with these little gloves, like what happened with Lawler, like what happened with Matt Brown, if someone hits you on the sweet spot, it doesn't matter who the fuck you are. Records previously don't count. It's that shot, that instant, that moment, that lends your night. And it's the fickle fans who go, oh, he was over fucking rated anyway. That's bollocks. If you're in the UFC, you're a superstar. The same way now that the Banner Lonsdale champion Mark Diakiese has signed for the UFC now as well, confirmed this week. He is going to fucking light up that division because he is an absolute stud. And you can already see he's already picking a fight with Artem Lobov as well. It's not like Mark star fights on Twitter. It's not like we wouldn't have experience with that, would you, Mark? But no, again, and that's another thing the UFC do. They're not happy with the pool they have. They're always looking for the top talents, and Mark Diakiese is certainly one of them. You only have to look at the fight with Kane Musa and the fight in Dublin before that as well. You know what I mean? And that's the game is always evolving. There's always new hungry lions, and that's why you have to give credit to Demetrius Johnson as well, as you said. Every time he gets in there, he's defending his belt, but he's fighting for the first time. And for me, you have to say he's probably the pound for pound best fighter in the UFC at the moment.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the sport, because you can win in so many different ways as well. And it's not just two guys just standing up, but it's not just in the UFC, but even on the lower level or local shows, etc. You see two guys and you think, yeah, he's definitely going to win it. All of a sudden, the kid who doesn't look in shape, or everyone's got this image of a MMA fighter, especially on the top level like the UFC, and all of a sudden the game just turns like with blink of an eye. guys won it, and you're like, what the hell happened there? But everyone's got a punch at a chance. So it's beautiful.
A perfect fight for that was, remember Pat Berry and what's the French guy's name? It's left me.
Congo. Exactly.
What the fuck?
Till this day, that's one of my favourite fights. I mean, especially people going, the ref should have stopped it, but no, man. You know when you think, no, he did the right thing there, because it's something that the referee could see. He was trying to fight, for whatever reason, and then next thing you know, Congo's on his ass.
Yeah. And then Congo just out of nowhere just sparks out Pat Berry. You're going, what happened? What the fuck happened? Yeah, it was a crazy fight. Crazy fight.
Yeah.
Absolute barn burner. So we move it on now to this week. We have UFC Fight Night 92. This is their headline is Rodriguez against Caceres. So Bruce Lee stepping back into the octagon. He's getting himself a main event this time. It's a fight night, but it's a main event. You have to say he's built himself up for that from his time in the UFC. But we're going to start from lower down the card. We're going to go with Mariana Morales versus Danielle Taylor is the first bout of the evening that we're going to break down, gentlemen. So do we have preparation? Have you looked at the card? What do we think? Dan's nodding his head for people on audio, so Helen's obviously wrote down the work beforehand.
I have. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't looked at the card, but I'll make my picks on the basis of the breakdown you guys are going to give.
Perfect. So I'll go first. I've done me a little bit of homework here. This is Danielle Taylor. She's coming in basically. She's making her UFC debut on this. Now she's a good fighter with a good record, but she's fighting Mrs. Armbar. You want to talk about Ronda Rousey being Mrs. Armbar? Morales, she is Mrs. Armbar, so I'm making it quick and easier. Getting a Thai style fighter here in Taylor. So this is almost, it's coming across like, as much as we're talking about the games involved, it's the old school striker versus grappler here against a submission artist. So Taylor of a Muay Thai background be coming in here. I think just UFC, first time jitters, and all that's going to come into play. And I'm going to go with Morales. I'm going to go with a second round armbar as well. So Mrs. Armbar is going to bring home another trophy for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same, Morose. Just so we know, we have the odds here as well from paddypower.com. 4-11 for Morose, and Taylor is 2-1. So
2-1.
So she's a fairly decent underdog. I'm going to go with Morose as well. I think Taylor's good. Like if you look at her past fights on the regional scene, she's very, very aggressive. She'll come forward and she'll just throw down, and she has some good wins as well. But I think Morose, she showed it against Scottish Fire. It's leaving me. It'll come back to me in a minute. Calderwood.
Yep.
Big fan of Calderwood. Showed against her in her debut. I think she surprised a lot of people, and she didn't look great against Valentina. The names are going again, but I'm gonna go with Morose. She's a good fighter. As you said, she can land that armbar at any time, and she is fairly aggressive as well. But I think she's better on the outside. I think if Taylor wants to win this, she has to make it into a brawl. And I think Morose would be fairly good to either capitalise that, get some takedowns on it, or else just kind of fight on the outside and maybe pick up a decision. But I'm gonna go for a submission as well, maybe in the second.
Nice. Are you writing these down? Actually, we don't have himself normally with the pen and paper.
Yeah, I'll write them down.
Well, from your breakdowns, I'll be stupid not to go against you guys, so I'm going to go with Morris as well. But no, how many times has she finished her fights with armbars? Just a quick question.
You asked me one there. We're going to have to go. It's the majority of our fights. Hold on, let me grab that info for you. But yeah, she is Mrs. Armbar. She's proper Mrs. Armbar.
Yeah, only because you compared it to Rousey, I wanted to know if the.
Yeah, I'll tell you that now.
Five wins by Armbar.
Is it? Over 5. So she's 7-1 and 5 by Armbar.
Wow. Yeah, then I'm definitely going with her then. Put me down.
Sign me up. I'm in.
Just as well, just to make up for what I said, it was Latorno.
Yeah, Latorno. Yeah. But again, she was fighting at the time there. Latorno would have been vying for the championship spot, wouldn't she? I'm right in saying that, haven't I?
Yeah, like Morose came in because when she beat Calderwood, she got a big boost from that because everyone was saying, "Oh, Calderwood could be the next one of that division." I think now people are getting back on the Calderwood boat, but she looked good in that fight. So yeah.
Moving on to the next fight tonight, then you've got Trevor Smith taking on Joseph Gilotti. This is a 7-0 fighter, and Joseph Gilotti coming in against Trevor Smith. So the odds on this one are Trevor Smith is 6-5, and Gilotti you'll get him at 4-6. And again, that's on paddypower.com. You're welcome. So I went first there that time. So anyone want to give a roar out there?
I'm just gonna go jump straight in. I'm gonna go with Gilotti. I think is how you pronounce his name. Very young fighter as well. I think he's only 22, but he's an absolute bull of a man, and he's very good on top. Very powerful takedowns. A lot of his takedowns come from slams. He's very, very powerful in the first round. It looks like he has kind of basic striking from what I've seen of him, but he looks very, very powerful. He looks like he has a big shot in him, and I think with the guy who he's fighting,
Trevor Smith.
Trevor Smith.
Yeah, he actually fought in Ireland. I remember that he beat Thor Trong in Ireland. I think that with Trevor Smith, he's good, but he's never been great, and he's definitely less athletic than him. So I'm going to go with him to win in the first round by a finish. I think if it goes late, Smith has shown some good experience, and he's a decent wrestler, so it's going to be tough to get him on the ground. But if it's going to be an early finish, yeah, I think Smith could be finishing the first. So I'm going to go with a knockout in the first.
Oh wow!
Knockout
who? For
TKO.
For Gilotti.
For Gilotti, yeah, Gilotti or whatever.
I was going to say, you said about his wrestling. I think Trevor Smith. I think second round, he can do it. But you're right. If in the early exchanges, I reckon he could be put away in the first round via TKO. But I'm going to go Trevor Smith second round. I think he can grind it out. I think he's got that experience, slightly more experience. He's 17-4, I believe, isn't it, or something like that? No, what was he?
No, he's 13-6.
So 13-6. I think the experience will overcome that. But again, like you said, Rob, if that he's coming up against a young kid, he's 7-0.
Yeah.
If first round, he could put him away. So it'll be interesting. But I'm going to go with Trevor Smith because I don't want it to look like I'm just copying your prediction.
I'm going to go with Gilotti here as well. A lot of his finishes are by choke. So he gets him down to the ground, he does the damage. So I know you're looking at TKO there, Rob, but I think he's going to get him down. He's going to wear him out with big shots, but he's going to look for the submission. He's another. He collects trophies, and they are tap outs to choke. So I'm going to go with Gilotti, and it's going to go for a rear naked choke in round 1.
Yeah, I think he's a decent prospect. Him, like looking at him, especially in the first round. Now, if we see him, in the second or third round against Smith, you never know. But it's a tough one. But I think if he can land that big shot in the first, it could be a TKO or a choke. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next fight tonight, and this is some beautiful. Get ready for my Argentinian here. Get ready for the Spanish Argentinian. We got Santiago. That's easy. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Zach Cummins.
Yeah, Zach Cummins, man. He's one of my.
Ponzinibbio. I'm about right there, haven't I?
Kind of.
Ponzinibbio.
Ponzinibbio.
Nailed it.
You say Ponzinibbio, I say tomato. Fair enough.
No, Zach Cummins, he's one of my favourite fighters. I mean, he's been in the UFC for quite a bit, and he always turns up and he puts on a good fight. And his wrestling for me is what does it for me. And I'm gonna go. I can see this one going 3 rounds, and I can see a decision or late third round. Zach Cummins ground and pound, but again, he's really. Everyone underestimates him. I think I feel that way. That but he's good and he grinds it out, and I like it. I don't know much about the Argentinian. I haven't seen him fight before, or I can't recall his name. I've seen him fight before, but I think Zach Cummins, either, like I said, either a decision or third round late stoppage, ground and pound.
Nice. Robert?
I'm gonna go with. It's a tough one. I'm a little bit split on this one. I do see where Cummins could win it, especially with his wrestling, because
Oh, look, he's
Ponzinibbio.
playing my card. Look, he's giving the ways. He's giving the paths to victory. So then next week
Yeah.
can go. Well, I did say Jack Cummins.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
you have to give the prediction. So I do think Cummins with his wrestling, I think he's very underrated in his wrestling. He can do it, but I think with Ponzinibbio, you've seen in his last fight. I think it was his last fight. It could be 2 fights ago. He fought Court McGee, and Court's very very tough, and he put him out there in the first round. He has a great right hand. And he's very quick, good Muay Thai fighter. His takedown defense looked good against Court McGee. I think Zach Cummins would be a little bit better than Court McGee, mixing up his takedown styles. But I do think he'll have enough to keep it on the feet. And if he can do it, he'll do it in the first or second. But if he starts going to the later half of the second, I could see Cummins getting to the ground and maybe even finishing him on the ground. But I'm gonna go with Ponzinibbio to get him done. Maybe first or second round early. By
Right. Dan, I know Zach Cummins is one of your favourites there. He fought here in Dublin against Air Gunny here, adopted Icelandic man.
He done well in that fight as well.
He done very well. He was winning. He was winning the fight until Gunny stepped it up. All right. But I just think Santiago here. He's fought on the regional circuit in like all South America, Brazil and stuff. But he's come in now and he's fought like in the UFC. He's had good fights and he's had good results in the UFC. I just think when he finishes fights when he gets in there, I think Zach Cummins, I like Zach Cummins too, he's a real grinder and stuff, but I just think that Santiago is going to get it done, he's going to get him hurt, and he's going to finish him late in the second round via TKO. He does finish a lot of his fights. It's interesting because the record of 22-3, you can say, well, what's his caliber that he's been fighting since he's come over, but like in the UFC, I think he's 6-2 in the UFC. So he's fought on this stage, and I just think he's a more aggressive fighter. I agree with Rob as well. If it goes the latter rounds, that's when I'd worry that Cummins will start coming into it and use his wrestling. So I think he's got to avoid the wrestling, keep it on his feet. I think he's a better striker than Zach Cummins, and I think he'll light him up. He'll get him hurt, and he'll finish him in the second round via TKO.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we move on to Talis. Sorry, the odds on that, by the way, are Santiago Ponzinibbio, whatever you call him, Rob, is 4-7, and Zach Cummins is 11-8. So that's Ponzinibbio is the slight favourite in that one. Just about, yeah. So moving on to your next bout of the evening, you see Talis against Chris Camozzi. So Talis is actually riding a 2-fight loss streak at the moment, but he's fighting against Chris Camozzi, who's actually on a 3-fight win streak at the moment. I must have fell asleep somewhere, because last time I think I seen Chris Camozzi was when Caceres choked him out. So I was looking at this fight and I was doing a little bit. I just think Talis he's been in there with the better. He is a gatekeeper, but he's been in there with the better people, I think. I just think Camozzi, for me, you see, I said it to Rob in a private message before we started here. I said, I've done my homework on this, but a lot of these fights are coin flips. My head says Chris Camozzi because he's the younger guy, but to Rob, but my body's telling me no. I'm going to go with Talis in this one. I just think he's been in there with the better guys. I'm going to go with a decision. So, Rob, I'm robbing your hashtag here. I'm going to think he's just going to outwork Camozzi. Camozzi will have his moments in the fights, but just Talis is he's like an old fucking hard fucking leathery steak. There's no beating in him, and I just think he's going to grind it out here and he'll get the decision. Because I do feel he was robbed against the current middleweight champion and Michael Bisping that time. I thought that was a very close fight, and I thought Talis might have got the nod in it. Maybe not, can't remember. I'm just saying that out of devilment, just to try and wind Dan up.
It was very close.
But no, yeah. But I'm going to go with Talis here with a decision. I just think he's going to outwork Camozzi. Camozzi will have a good start to the fight, but Talis, just the veteran in him, will come on strong in the fight, and he'll have Camozzi hurt. He might wobble him and nearly get him out of there, but I just see the decision going to Talis.
But it depends what Talis turns up as well. He's been a veteran of this game. Like you said, he's coming off 2 losses. It depends where his head's at in this one. I'm going to go with Chris, but again, he's coming off 3 fight winning streak. you know.
Yeah.
But
That really surprised me.
You know, Talis, I don't know. Like I said, gatekeeper maybe. I don't know. He's been in the game for a long time. But we'll see. I'm going to go with Chris, and I'm going to go with second round TKO.
I think you need a truck to finish Talis, ladies.
You think so?
Yeah, that's a close one.
Be interesting.
Yeah, I'm completely torn on this one. Chris Camozzi, I don't think I've ever put a bet on Chris Camozzi or bet for him to win, or predicted him to win. I know in his last fight, I thought he was going to get beat by Vitor Miranda. I thought he would have been outstruck, but he showed some great Muay Thai in that fight. It looked like he really growed. So I don't really know, because Talis has lost his two last fights, but the Michael Bisping fight was really close.
But just sorry, Rob, for cutting across you. For any of our international viewers, Rob's from the north side, the north side of Dublin. So by I thought he showed some. He meant he grew. He didn't growth. He grew. Growth. Growth. He growth. Yeah. He really growth. He really growth.
Do you know what it is? I'm so fucking torn on this fight that I don't know which one to pick, and I'm just fucking saying
flip a
words.
Coin. Take a coin out of your pocket and flip a coin.
Go to Movahedi route.
Yeah. Carl actually done that on the last prediction he done.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He got it wrong.
Wow.
So never trust.
Fuck you and your coin.
Well, who uses a double head coin? Carl. 2 heads, huh?
I'm gonna go with latest. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I don't really like it, but
Carl, if you're listening, man, join the winning team.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with latest. I don't know how he's gonna do it. I think maybe he'll just maybe be able to grapple him a little bit and win a decision, but this is a coin flip.
Yeah, I just can't wait till the end of the year where all the records get wiped and we start the new year fresh, because this is abysmal. Right, so your next fight of the evening then is Dennis Bermudez taking on Honey Jason. This is the co-main event of the evening. I know Rob was impressed because he expected me to say Ronnie Jason there, but I didn't. I went with Honey Jason. So what do we think of this one? You've Honey Jason is currently a 1-loss streak, and Bermudez is actually on a 1-win streak. So it's just rare when you see the UFC sort of match a fight like that. But what's your thoughts on this one?
It's a good fight. I like it. Dennis Bermudez I'm really impressed with him. He's had a couple of bad losses, especially the one against Jeremy Stevens where he got knocked out. But he didn't look too bad. He looked pretty good in that fight. Until that big crazy flying knee. I think with Honey Jason, I think Dennis Bermudez still has his chin. Stevens can knock out anybody in the world, at that weight division. So I think that was just a bit of a blip. But I'm gonna go with Bermudez to get the win. Honey Jason's really good in the ground. He's a wild striker, but sometimes he can be a little bit lackadaisy.
You reading my notes?
Is that what you have? I'm gonna go with Bermudez. I think if he does want to take it to the ground, I do like Honey Jason's submission game. What to say? I can't say that.
It's just cardio issues and wild style.
Yeah, I do like a submission game. Even off his back, he's really good. But I think Bermudez, I don't think you're going to submit him when he's on top, and he's striking on top. His ground and pound is really, really good. And on the feet, I do rate him a little bit higher than Honey Jason. So I'm going to go with Bermudez. I think he should win this one fairly easy. I'm not sure if he'll finish him, but if he does, I think it will be early. So I'm going to go with it because I always go with decisions. So I'll go with a finish in the 4th round for Dennis Bermudez.
So you're just going to flip the coin completely and go 1st round knockout.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but
gentlemen,
I think Bermudez. He's got good takedown defense, and like you said, he was unlucky how he got caught in that fight with the knee. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about his opponent, so I'm going to go Bermudez, and I'm going to go with 2nd round TKO.
Right, I'm going to go with Bermudez, but I like Bermudez as a fighter. But Honey Jason is one of the most overhyped fighters I've ever seen. I think it's just because the Brazilians just got so behind him. He was on Brazil's Ultimate Fighter, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, it's because he wears the Jason mask.
Yeah, but yeah, Yeah, they completely get behind him, and I've never, like, don't get me wrong, his ground game, he's Brazilian. That's like saying a New Zealander's good at fucking rugby. Of course they're fucking good at rugby. So of course he's good at jiu-jitsu. If he's a mixed martial arts, of course he's good at jiu-jitsu. But I just think he's fucking overrated. I think he has no stand-up. I think he's absolutely disgraceful stand-up in comparison to Dennis Bermudez. Like, do you know what I mean? He's sloppy, he's wild, is exactly what I'm saying, and he has cardio issues. Don't get me wrong, you're looking at me now going, he has cardio issues now. When was the last time you done 5k? But anyway, he does. He has cardio issues, he gasses out, he throws wildly, and Bermudez will just laugh at that and pick it apart. Watch now as Honey Jason knocks out Bermudez with a flying fucking wheel kick or something. But no, I just think Honey Jason, don't get me wrong, I respect him in the sense that his jiu-jitsu was there, but I just think he's overhyped. He's fucking overrated hugely, and I just see Dennis Bermudez getting it done. Mind you, I have Dennis Bermudez down as a third round TKO, and I just think it'll eventually come that Honey Jason will come wild and he'll swing. He might land, but I think Bermudez has the chin. If they get involved in a war, Bermudez will finish him quick, but I think it'll be longevity and it'll go to the third round and an accumulation of damage. Or there's, their striking is just different part, and I just think Bermudez will pick him apart.
Fair enough.
Nice rant over.
Yeah, there wasn't really a rant. I fucking, he's overrated. Fuck him. They all go mad because, your name's fucking Ronnie. Your name's Ronnie. It's not fucking Honey. Where's the fucking H? Anyway, moving on to your main event of the evening, then another guy I don't like too much actually. But you've got Yair Rodriguez against fucking Alex Caceres. Guess which one I don't like.
Why'd you not like
your main
him?
event? Alex?
Yeah.
The fucking Ultimate Fighter. I wanted to punch me television. He has a fucking yellow tracksuit with black stripes down the side, thinking he's Bruce fucking Lee.
You get too invested in this Ultimate Fighter shit, man. Way too invested.
No, but you know what? I don't like him either. I don't like his stand-up style. He's sloppy. He's I don't know. He has this arrogance of somebody who's fucking a god. He's not a god. He's fucking cat.
So you're picking Yair, yeah?
Yeah, but if Alex was a fucking chocolate bar, if Alex was a chocolate bar, he'd be a fucking Kit Kat because he's fucking cat, and he can have 4 fingers.
Who's upsetting tonight, Rob?
I don't know what happened. I think it's because I was reading his notes.
No, do you know what it was? I don't know what it is. He just rubs me up wrong. I just don't like him. And again, I was the Ultimate Fighter, but your man Yair Rodriguez, he comes from the Mexican Ultimate Fighter, correct?
Yeah.
And you were singing his praise there, Rob, the last time, so I got invested in him and I looked into him a lot more. And I like his style. I really like him. He's on an 8-fight win streak at the moment. So he's having fun in there. He's a good, young, confident fighter. Now, in saying that, Alex Caceres is on a 2-fight win streak and most notably beat Cole Miller in his last fight, which was a great scalp for Alex Caceres, because I always thought, he was a little bit of an early Sage Norcutt, if you like, back when the UFC, when he was in the Ultimate Fighter. He was a bit of a gimmick, and he was a gimmick. Yeah. He's progressed past that now, so my little rant there a minute ago was only exaggerating. Call it entertainment, being a podcast. But he has evolved as a fighter, but again, I think he's somebody that he's living beyond his means in this, in it, you know what I mean? If you put him in there with a high caliber guy, and I honestly think Yair Rodriguez has the potential to become something great in the UFC, and I just think he's going to wipe the fucking floor with him, and I just have TKO by however he fucking decides.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Rodriguez. He's 8-1, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
8-2,
yeah.
8-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win. And like yourself, Noel, I'm not a big favourite of Alex, only because that yellow tracksuit with the black.
The yellow tracksuit with the black stripes.
Yeah. I think you've got to earn that.
Yeah.
Well, I like Alex Caceres.
Yeah.
You either have to be Bruce Lee or in fucking Kill Bill to wear the yellow tracksuit with black stripes.
Oh,
that's it.
No,
and after this, I wonder who's reffing it, because they'll be standing over him going, "Wiggle your big toe, wiggle your big toe," because he's gonna get knocked the fuck out.
Jesus.
So, but listen, but the thing that Alex would be, Cole Miller, again, that Cole Miller's been around the game for a long time, and maybe it was time for him to get beat. And Cole Miller's been in a lot, good battles, and it's just one of the things. But I reckon Rodriguez is up and coming, and he's going somewhere, But It's going to be an exciting fight, I reckon. It's not going to be a boring fight. You're going to see some flashy kicks, flashy moves. Yes, and there's a reason they've made that the main event. So I think we should be expecting a good main event for that night.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna go with Rodriguez. I do like Caceres. I like the way he fights. I think he's pretty good, but I think he has a similar style on the surface if you look at him and Yair. Whereas they'll move around a lot. But I think with Yair he'll throw a lot more leg kicks, and you've seen in his last fight he was throwing them leg kicks really, really low, dropping his opponent. I think with Caceres he has that really wide stance, that karate stance. I think his leg would be chewed up. He wants to stand on the feet and on the ground. Even though they're both really good on the ground, you'd have to favour Rodriguez. Especially when he gets on top, he's vicious, especially with his ground and pound, and he'll pass and he'll look for submissions. So I think this is it's going to be a showcase fight for Rodriguez. Even though I think that Caceres is a little bit underrated for some people, but I do think Rodriguez will get the win. I can see him smashing that front leg and maybe taking it to the ground and maybe submitting Bruce Leroy.
I tell you now, if Bruce Leroy wins this, I'm gonna go and buy myself a yellow tracksuit with black stripes, and I'll dress up as Bruce Leroy Caceres for Halloween.
Next event, and when you call Bama.
Yeah, when I call Bama, I'll walk out in a yellow suit with black stripes down the side of it, with an afro and a comb stuck in it, and I'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'll go, "This is my new look. This is just how I dress now." Yeah. So like again, you're a pick under the radar now, lad. So the main event, we all went there with again. Sorry, just for the odds there, just to keep on track with what we're actually doing. You have Yair Rodriguez at 9-4, and you actually have Alex Caceres as the favourite at 1-3.
Oh wow!
Really? That has to be wrong.
Well, that's what you fucking sent me.
Okay, that's the opposite way around.
You fucking clown. Alright, so sorry, it's Yair Rodriguez at 1-3 and Alex Caceres at 9-4. So you're under the radar, lads. I don't think we're allowed to pick the obvious under the radar, are we?
Which is the obvious one? Go on, I know.
Cub Swanson.
Yeah, that's what I was going to pick.
How was Cub Swanson the fight? He must want. Do you know what it is?
It's the fight pass. It's the fight pass main event.
Yeah, but hold on. Cub Swanson, he's got to have like a family do or something, a gathering on, and he said, "Look, listen, lads, any chance I can fight early?" Because Cub Swanson is not a fight pass. The Cub Swanson, like, how was Alex fucking yellow tracksuit fucking the main event here, and Cub Swanson's on the fucking card?
Relax, man.
Either Cub Swanson fucked Dana White's wife, or Eric Silva's wife, because there's no way Cub Swanson is low down on the fucking. God, I hope this one doesn't make. Eric said Joe Silva, whatever. But there's no way Cub Swanson is this low down. So he clearly has like a christening or a communion or something he has to get to.
No, did you feel that Carl was missed on this show halfway through?
Yeah, I took it up a level. Yeah. I can see a photo edit tomorrow going, Cub Swanson's fuck Dana White's wife. But no, there's something up there. I don't understand why it's so low down.
It's because they're really trying to push the fight pass thing. They want people to subscribe, so so people to tune in and watch the fights as opposed to waiting for the main event. Which is fair enough, man. Yeah. And like I said, them days of going, hey, it's undercard, they just want to make it one event so everyone watches the whole event as opposed to...
that happens. A lot of people talk to me about MMA, who's the main event? You go, look, listen, watch the whole fucking card. Yeah. Because that's great. Like, with boxing is very different for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. But, like, if I was watching, let's say, I don't know, Cal Brook is fighting now against Triple G, isn't he? That's right, yeah?
Golovkin.
Yeah, I'll watch that fight. But I won't watch the whole undercard because it's just not exciting. But when you watch an MMA card, be it BAMA or be it Bellator or be it the UFC, Cage Warriors, whatever you're watching, any fight can be fighted tonight. So, I just think it's weird that Cub Swanson is so low down. It's crazy. But so we're not allowed to pick Cub Swanson is the main event. Is the main thing there.
Then I'm gonna go Court McGee versus Dominic Stille. Yeah, I like Court McGee, and he's a tough kid. And again, same with him. Some people can argue why is he so low down in the card, but it's a good fight. it's an interesting fight.
He must have fucked. I'm only joking.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I like that fight too, actually.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, because you potentially could be working for the UFC, so let's back off from that. Yeah, I like Cart McGee. I love Cart McGee's story, like where he came from. Like he's a former drug addict and all. You know what I mean? Like he's really turned his life around. Amazing.
Yeah.
Like MMA has basically saved his life. Like so, how can you not like Cart McGee? Like if you don't like Cart McGee, get your act together. Rob, what's your under the radar
there? Slim pickings, to be fair, isn't it?
I just before you say it, I can guarantee you're gonna pick my fight. But go on anyway.
Can you?
Yeah.
Victor Pesta.
Unbelievable.
Was it?
You see that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
like why not? Heavyweights.
Heavyweights.
It could be entertaining. The rest of the card, there's a guy, the Horatio guy there. He's 2-2. I'm guessing he was on the tough Latin America. So yeah. Apart from that, them couple of fights, the prelims aren't great. But yeah, we'll go with that one.
All right. Well, I'm surprised you just haven't gone with this. I'm gonna go with Cub Swanson versus Tatsuya Iguarda. What? Yeah. Look, I was invested full in Piesta there against Piesta. I've lost it on my thing there. Where am I gone? Oh yeah, Caceres against the board. I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know the rest of the card. But again, this is. I'll just go with the Ledoff versus Shearman again because it's heavyweights. So anything can happen at heavyweights. But this is like as much as you don't know them or I don't know them. That doesn't mean don't watch them because these are the fights. These are the guys that are hungry. They want the contract. They want to prove themselves. So 9 times out of 10, these turn out to be the great fucking fights.
Exactly.
Yeah. So look.
Just quickly, you were talking about people watching the fights. Just in Bulgaria at SFC, everyone stayed right till the main event, and it was crazy. The crowd out there was quiet, just like Japan, like you see on Pride. They would only cheer right at the end, or if someone gets out of a submission. It was weird. It felt like there was no atmosphere, but it was. And every single person stayed right until the end, to the last fight, which is something that you usually don't get in the British scene or in some of the local shows. Everyone just comes to watch their mates and then they bugger off to go for the piss up. But that was a good experience. But yeah, you were saying about people watching all the fights. Obviously, they appreciate all the fights out there. So
that wrecks my head with like when you're watching either be it UFC or whatever you're watching, and you see like the prelims are on and nobody's in the crowd, like, and you're going, what are you doing? Like, go and watch all the fights, like. Especially
if you paid good money for them.
Yeah. I always say that. Like, but even Rob Dublin was guilty of it. Like, I remember the McGregor Brandao card. I remember Paddy Hoolan was fighting the first fight of the night. And now, don't get me wrong, the main stands, as in, let's say, just the working folk like ourselves, that was full. But I got a great ticket. I got spoiled rotten by Chris Boyan there. Got me a nice ticket that I was sat touching the cage, like, it was great. But there was nobody there. It was literally me, Lar Bourne, and they large young lads screaming at the fights, like, and they're going, who let them in here, seriously, But like, I don't understand that. Go and watch all the fights, So that'll do us, boys. That'll wrap us up. So Carl, I tried to make up for it by claiming that Cub Swanson's having sexual innuendos with somebody high up in the UFC. I just like to make a statement now that I am available to work for the UFC at any time. But we'll just delete this from the internet if that happens. But as always, we like to thank MMAmix.com just for sharing our stuff and getting behind us on the podcast here. We're only babies, we're only new, we're trying to build a Whiskey Fair as well, our normal home. So you can find us on all your social media outlets. We're obviously Fight Talk on the likes of your Facebooks, your Instagrams and YouTube. Please like and subscribe to the channel as it really helps and it builds us as well. You'll get us on iTunes and Android as well. On Twitter, we're at @talk_fight. So, Mr. Movahedi, it's been an honour to talk to you as always. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Sorry I was a bit ill prepared for the next UFC card, but hey,
look, we're busy, and let's be honest, you're probably going to get it right. I'm not criticising your picks after sitting bottom of the list.
No, but great being on. Great seeing you guys. I'm looking forward to any more guests in the studio coming up?
To give away, studio wise, we've a couple lined up. We've people fight. We just got to try and organise dates because Robert's the greedy fucker. Rob's gone away on a holiday next week. Yeah, he's got away. Cheek him. So we have to organise our life around Rob Palin next week. Yeah, we do. We've a couple lined up. We're going to start up with BAM. I was talking to Matt from BAM as well because they're over on the 29th for a press conference over here. So we'll get a bit of interaction with BAM as well, and we're going to start breaking down BAM a lot more as well. So yeah, I look forward to that. And we've Niall and Tommy the Cutman. They're going to be coming on. We've the likes of Ryan Sheen, who's a European Muay Thai champion, potentially could be fighting for a world champion in October. But shh. So yeah, we've plenty of guests coming up as well. So we just got to get Skype sorted, and then we can really hit all our targeted guests that we have lined up as well.
Yeah, there's loads of people that we can kind of get in contact, and we've already been in contact. It's just a matter of getting everything sorted and getting dates sorted.
Lovely.
Exactly. So, Rob, say your good night to the people.
Good night, people.
And thanks as always, Dublin, UK, Germany, and there one fan in North Korea who went off, but you're back. It's great to see you're alive. So as always, you've been absolutely beautiful. We've been obviously Fight Talk. Hit us up, share, like, tell your friends. Good night. Take care.
Gents, good night. Take care.
Cheers.